Bonjour, hi, I'm Jean Daniel. I'm not famous. If you don't know who I am, fair enough. That's the whole point of not being famous. But in the last 2 years, I've had a hobby of sharing my ideas on TikTok and on Threads. And most of the time, it is just a shout into the void. But every once in a while, something I have had to say has gone viral and been liked by tens of thousands of people. And that's flattering because it's nice that people laugh at a joke you make or resonate with a lesson you want to teach. But I see a lot of people trying to get famous online, wanting to be influencers. And I think that there are some warnings and advice I can offer as somebody who isn't famous. Because this is the category where many semi-successful people will linger for a long time. The category of enough virality and success that you get all of the negatives of fame and none of the positives, with no assurance that any of the positives will ever come. And you need to know about this before you start publicly sharing your ideas, your creations online. So here are my warnings and advice for the not yet famous, who may or may not want to be famous, but who passionately want to share their ideas. So the first general warning is that the negatives of fame will come before any of the positives, which may not ever come. I have made no money whatsoever from having 20,000 TikTok followers or over 1 million views of my ideas on Threads. No money whatsoever. That's okay. I have a great job. This is a hobby for me. I emphasize that because though I have made no money at all, I've had stalkers. I've had creepy parasocial relationships where people think that we're dating, though we've never met. I have had threats. I have had people try to threaten my life, threaten my job, and I have had people say that they would report me to the police for crimes that I have definitely not committed, just because they have these weird notions that people with my political opinions are all doing some horrible things. I have had all of that without any of the benefits. People will make comments accusing you of having your opinion or thinking what you think or doing what you did in order just to get all the TikTok or Threads money. When no, I just sincerely believe the things that I've said. As an example of how stupid this is, I have been told by multiple people this week that I should die. And what was this in response to? Religion, politics. I said I didn't particularly like a store that they happened to like a lot. Yeah, I said I didn't enjoy visiting a store, and these people think that the world would be better with me dead. All of the negativity will come before any of the positivity. That's the warning. Now, I don't want to be entirely negative. So let's get to some advice. 1, you need to have passion. Whatever it is you're putting out, if you are making your privacy settings set to public, you had better mean it. If it's a joke, if it's an educational take, if it's a political opinion, you need to be aware that it might go viral. And will you stand by it if it goes viral? If your stupid joke or your passing opinion suddenly gets in the news, will you defend it? Because the first time you go viral will be a surprise, and it will not be correlated to how passionate you were about it or about how professional you were in presenting it. There are videos I have made and threads I have written that I've thought about a lot that nobody seems to respond to, and passing little brain farts that get tens of thousands of likes. Make sure you are passionate about what you are choosing to share, because the hatred will come and you need to preemptively be okay. The next piece of advice I would give is actually to get a healthy relationship with statistics and not measure your self-worth by how popular something is. But one of the things I have found very comforting is when anything goes remotely viral, you will get a lot of hateful comments, but you can get a sense of the scale of the hateful comments by realizing it got this many views, and out of all of the views, only 10% of people even clicked like. And out of all of the people who clicked like, only 10% of that number even made any comment whatsoever. And out of all of the comments, maybe only 10% of those are negative. The viciously cruel and negative people are a minority. And sometimes when you're getting hundreds of notifications that tell you should die, it's easy to lose track of how many more people like you and like what you had to say. And the bigger group, how many more people just don't care one way or another? The hateful trolls are outnumbered. They're real, but they're outnumbered. And that's what I mean by a healthy relationship with statistics. Next piece of advice I would give is to self-disclose only as much as is relevant. So depending on the kind of content you're making, you will have more or less self-disclosure to do. But whatever corner of privacy you can maintain, not using your real name, too late for me, but that's okay. You need to be thoughtful about how much of myself am I going to share. Don't name exactly what neighborhood you live in unless your content is about that neighborhood, perhaps. Don't share your last name if you can help it. Talk about your career field, but maybe don't name your employer unless your content is directly related to your employer. And that leads to my next piece of advice. If your content is related to what you do for a living, make sure your employer has your back. Make sure that your employer would stand with you. Now, generally, most of the content I share isn't related to my work, but I work for an employer that values online engagement and education, and I'm privileged in that way. But do due diligence. Make sure that you are economically safe to be sharing what you share. Another piece of advice I would offer is delay. What I mean by delay is write a draft, record a draft, and just wait a little bit before you share it. That will give you time to make sure it's something that you really stand behind. It also will allow some safety. So if your online content reveals where you were, don't reveal where you are. Reveal where you had been. It's much safer to reveal places you were in the past than, say, doing live streams in obvious locations. You do not need to be very famous for somebody online to believe that you are their soulmate. You don't need to be conventionally attractive. Listen, I thought it was humility to think that I would be immune from creepy para-romantic stalkers. You're not immune. However old you are, whatever you look like, don't share where you are, share where you were. Now, this all seems very negative, so I want to conclude with some hope. Sharing my ideas and experiences on TikTok and Threads, and occasionally having tens of thousands of people think my joke is funny or the thing I had to teach was interesting, has been wonderful for me. It hasn't made me any money, but it's reassured me that the amount of time I spend studying and thinking about things is worthwhile because it's something I can share. I am not negative about social media generally, but I also haven't posted on TikTok in a few months because sometimes it's just too much to deal with, and it's not worth it financially. But loving, supportive people also exist, and you have stories and experiences that can build real community and real empathy, and that's valuable. But do it carefully. Protect yourself, because you may or may not ever get famous. You may or may not ever make money, but people will respond. And it will be a little scary sometimes and profoundly beautiful other times.